Before we begin the episode, I would like to thank our sponsor, Field Queens, an Irish-owned GAA and leisurewear brand created by two inter-county players, Una White and Orla Duff. The girls have put aside their inter-county rivalries to create Ireland's first ever GAA glove specifically designed and tailored fit to the female hand. Field Queens are empowering future generations and offer a 15% team discount on gloves and are proud to be stocked in 10 stores nationwide. Having only started this venture in 2021, they have steadily grown their product line to include their original Empower gloves, bobble hats, snoods and water bottles. They've also just announced their brand new blackout glove, which are now available to buy on their website fieldqueens.ie. You can find out more information on their social media at Field Queens, which will be linked in the description box below. Welcome back to the Sideline Live podcast. You can follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On episode 90, I'm delighted to be joined by Cork senior footballer, lecturer in sport education and six-time All-Ireland winner Orlagh Farmer. Today we discuss her research investigating Gaelic for girls, learning from teammates and losses, advice to younger players and so much more. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hi Orlagh, thanks a million for joining me on the podcast.
No problem, I'm excited to be on.
Before we get into everything, would you mind giving a quick elevator pitch to the listeners who might not know who you are?
Absolutely. So my name is Orlagh Farmer. I'm from Cork, hence the accent. I'm playing with the Cork senior ladies footballers now, my 13th year on the panel. So I'm classified officially as one of the oldest, one of the oldies on the team now at the moment. So I'm playing away, and I suppose my football career kind of mirrors my academic career as well. In that I'm a qualified PE teacher, and I'm also a lecturer in sport education. So I do a bit of lecturing with Dundalk IT and with DCU as well in St. Patrick's College. And I run some workshops then as well. I'm just trying to promote young girls' sport participation. My PhD research was all about, trying to keep girls more active and finding out new ways to, retain girls and to allow girls to just enjoy themselves so that they can get the best out of themselves as well.
Brilliant. For you growing up, Orlagh, who were your role models for you growing up in sport, and who would you have looked up to?
I definitely looked up to the likes of Angela Walsh, Breach Corker, Irina Buckley, Breed Stack, Juliet Murphy, all these girls, Valerie Mulcahy, the list goes on. They were the girls that I looked up to, and luckily enough then I got the chance to play with them and train alongside them. So it's important to have role models, and I'm sure a lot of young girls now have some role models that they look up to, so they were kind of my top role model heroes growing up.
Why ladies football? What was the kind of pull for you? Did you play any other sports, and what kind of stood out in your mind with Gaelic football?
When I was younger, I think I always just had that passion, for physical activity, for sport. And I think it was fifth class really was the defining moment for me. It was my fifth class teacher, Karen Gumbridge, I still remember her name. And she encouraged me to play with the school and to join my local club in Middleton. At the time I was also running. And so I also joined my local club in athletics as well. And around that same time as well, I started playing camogie. So those three really, it was athletics, ladies football and camogie. But I think I just took more of a shine to ladies football, maybe because I picked up on the skills a bit more. And I was encouraged a lot in school, and my teacher and my parents and my friends. So I decided to join Middleton. And it took off from there then.
Brilliant. When did the dream start for you to play for Cork and to go to Croke Park on All-Ireland final day?
I suppose I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to play Cork under 14, under 16 minor, under 21. So all my underage years really, I had that opportunity to represent Cork. So I was very grateful of that. And I think it was throughout those years really, that I strived to, one day as the young girl, one day that I would, come running out that tunnel in Croke Park and represent, Cork and my club and my family in Croke Park with my role models. So I think really it was kind of fourth year, fifth year, I think 15, kind of 16, 17, that age definitely comes to mind when I think of, wanting to play on the Cork senior team. And I think that, I always say, and I always remember that it was 2009, really, that year when Cork won the five in a row. And I was up in Cork Park with my parents, sitting in the Hogan stand, and I remember just looking down when the final whistle went, saying, I want to be part of that setup, because I could see how happy they were. Like, I could see just the sheer and utter joy of winning in All Ireland, and being part of a team, and just that sense of belonging, and achieving a common goal together. And like, I wanted that, and I remember that specific moment, just sitting there saying, yeah, that's actually what I want. And I think that was another defining moment for me, in terms of kind of pushing on and getting that opportunity then a year later, less than a year later after that, to come onto the panel and represent Cork.
I was in Crow Park that day as well, but I didn't leave as happy as you as a dub. What's it like going in after you have that defining moment? It's interesting you even remember that, and going in less than a year later into that senior team, and then going on to achieve 6 All Ireland titles. Does it hit you in that moment? Is it only when you reflect, when you take time to look back in your career? What's that initial kind of feeling like when you've kind of come up here with your role models and you've now achieved what you've always, you said when you're 15 you wanted to achieve?
I think I actually, funnily enough, had this conversation with one of the other girls on the team the other day, one of the other oldies on the team the other day, and we were even just saying how, like, just those years just went by like in a flash. Like, how it's really only when you kind of start losing or come out of kind of that winning kind of glory days, whatever you want to call it, that you only realize then, how kind of important those days were, and especially they were. At the time, I suppose it just felt a bit surreal. Maybe I didn't appreciate it as much, because I was a bit younger as well. I think if it was now and we were winning 5 or 6 All Irelands in a row, I think I probably would take it in more. But hindsight, like, you're always going to say things like that when it comes to looking back and reflecting. But no, I do think, like, obviously I was very lucky to come into an already 5 All Ireland time winning team. 2010 we lost that year, but it was quite daunting, all right, coming up from minor, up to senior, and now kind of playing and training. But I just remember even my first All Ireland, like, just running out into the tunnel again in less than a year or two from when I was sitting up in the stand watching as a spectator. So yeah, it was surreal, really, just to sum it up. I think it was surreal, but it was also like we worked hard as well. It wasn't as if it was like, sure, we're in All Ireland again this year, we're in All Ireland again. It was just the experience alone of training towards like that goal of winning that All Ireland when the final whistle goes, and doing it collectively as well, as part of a team. And, like, to be honest, it's even the times off the pitch, like the build up to the All Irelands, the trips up and down to Croke Park on the bus, the coming back to the homecomings, you know, I suppose celebrating with your family and friends in your own club as well. Like, they're nearly more important than just actually playing for that 60 minutes up in Croke Park. And they're the memories, like the medal carries dust, like, it's the memories that last forever. And they're the things that I'll cherish. I don't know where my medals are, so they're the things that I'll cherish forever.
The breach Stack said the exact same thing when I was interviewing her. She's like, "Oh, I don't even know where my medals are," and I was like, "Oh God!" But it's funny, like, that seems to be, the actual, the honesty behind winning an All Ireland medal. It's not the medal you have in your hand. Yes, it's the football, but it's everything that happens off the pitch. It's all the crack you have in the dressing room beforehand, after training, after a really tough session. That's what it is to be part of a team. That is what it means to win an All Ireland. It's all those moments that might necessarily not be kicking a football around a pitch.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think you nailed it there. It's just even the camaraderie and the friendships. Like, even some of my best friends now, like, I always think of, even like, say, Orlagh Finn. We grew up together being kind of rivals on the cross country pitch when we were younger. And then, we were under 14 together all the way up. And now we're still playing together with Cork. Like, and I wouldn't be friends, with Orla if it wasn't for football. Like, it was football brought us together. And, like, even, I live with two footballers that I play with as well, another two Cork footballers that I play with. We rent a house together, and, like, all of that wouldn't happen if we didn't play football. So not only that, but other opportunities too. I think, like, even my career and stuff as well, like, it's after opening up so many opportunities for me. And, like, my passion has now kind of mirrored my career and my working career and my academic career. And it's my passion, and I'm grateful for that, and the skills that I've learned from sport and the lessons that I've learned as well. And it's the resilience, and not just the winning, like, because like it's grand now to talk about those 6 All Irelands in a row, but like sure we haven't won an All Ireland since 2016 as well. So it's the life lessons and the skills as well along the way that kind of make you who you are now, and kind of build on your character as well.
Talk us through some of your academic studies. I know the LGFA approached you a couple of years ago to run a PhD. Talk us through a little bit of that and what investigation you originally did.
So back a few years ago, I won't be mentioning years now at all. Back a few years ago, I decided to take on a project. It was the Gaelic for Girls project. So it's already an existing program run by the Ladies Gaelic Football Association, and it's run since 2008. And the whole, I suppose, aim of the program is to try and target kind of clubs that are struggling with numbers, or that maybe don't have a football club and that maybe want to start a Ladies Gaelic football club. So it's kind of an introductory / kind of recruitment program for ladies football, in kind of its grassroots level, at club level. So I suppose where my research came in is that I put that evidence base then behind the program. So I looked at the program, I tailored the program, and I tweaked the program, based on kind of research informed practice, so that we could improve the program, add elements to the program, so that more girls could kind of stay involved, and we could kind of use it as a tool really to attract more young girls and coaches and parents, to kind of gain more interest in ladies football. And I suppose we did it through ladies football because it's everly increasing in terms of interest. And I suppose you can even see that as well yourself, that over the years, the numbers have it's nearly tripled in terms of attendance in finals, and just the social media content, and the interest alone has gone up. So I think really the whole, I suppose, aim of that program is just kind of 8 to 12-year-old girls. So you're kind of giving them a good start early on, so that when they do come into kind of teenage years, that hopefully we'll kind of catch them when they're young, gives them that good experience of ladies football, of sport, develop healthy and positive attitudes towards staying involved, and for them to understand the benefits of keeping involved in sport, so that they will stay involved then, and that they'll reap the benefits, later on into their adulthood. And so I suppose my research then, I looked specifically at, physical activity levels, how active are young girls in Ireland, what's their skill like. So basic fundamental movement skill, are they kicking a ball okay? Are they throwing a ball? Are they catching a ball? What are they like in terms of their mastery levels of doing that? And then I also looked at the psychological kind of side to sport as well. So things like, the barriers, like why are they dropping out of sport? Motivators, why are they staying involved in sport? But also kind of other factors that kind of influence, their engagement. So things like self-esteem, self-confidence, body image, friends, social support. Are they getting support from their family? Are they getting support from their friends, from their teacher, from their coach? All those different elements, so that we could kind of design a program then, and kind of revamp the program and add elements of the program. So that again, the aim was just more girls involved. So really, like, I suppose, looking at the results of my study over the years, I ran a few different studies, but I think the main things that were coming through were, even just looking at the skill alone, like the fundamental movement skills, these basic skills that all children should master by the age of 10. What I found in my own research was less than kind of 3-4% of the girls, in my study were not proficient, that they couldn't master these basic skills. I'm on about skipping, I'm on about running now, like the contralateral movement, running. I'm talking about like catching a ball, not able to actually kind of get the W shape and catching the ball. Even balancing on one leg, like, was a struggle for some girls, which is quite shocking, and very, very shocking. And I think that really just opened my eyes, and just like, we just assume and we expect that girls and boys essentially can move, and they can perform these basic skills, but we have to remember that these skills have to be taught and learned and nurtured as well, and practiced, like, like that's what training is for, essentially. And I think that it just opened my eyes to kind of make coaches and teachers, and parents and young girls aware that you do need to practice, and you do need to put in the work as well. And like, that'll help with confidence. that'll help with self-esteem, that'll help with, not being embarrassed, maybe swallowing a ball if you can't do it right. That, it's trying to create that culture of like, are you maximizing your time in the training session to allow children and girls to perform these basic skills? How many minutes of that 60-minute session are you allowing time for them to actually practice? And I'm talking about now, not 8 to a cone or not 10 to a cone, and they're there chatting or doing cartwheels or doing handstands. I'm talking about like in pairs, or if not even a ball each, that they're allowing how many times they catching the ball, are they kicking the ball, are they hand passing the ball? And I think that's important. And that was a kind of big finding that came through just alone. Like, it was very, very worrying.
Yeah, that's actually something I wanted to ask you about, because there is a lot of research coming out across all countries and sports, and that kids don't have these fundamental movements. And I think it was Niall Moyna that had it in a presentation. It showed like the generation maybe 20 years ago, all out in the road, skipping, jumping, hopping, playing, tip the can, whatever. And the generation now are sitting on their phones. Like, it's completely different. And I was listening to a coach recently, and they said under 8s to under 12s should really just, like, regardless of the sport, should just focus on fundamental movements, hopping over hurdles, these different things that kids aren't maybe doing by themselves anymore. You need to bring into your own training sessions, because as you said, kids don't have these fundamental movements. When they go to PE in school, they can't do these things because they haven't been exposed to it, because they're not out as much as they were.
I think the key word there is exposure, like, actually allowing time for them to practice. And I think, you mentioned it, like, social media and devices, technology has advanced. Like, I remember when I was young, I definitely was out and about climbing trees, jumping on walls, like getting absolutely destroyed every day. And like, that's like, we're supposed to do that as a child. Like, we're supposed to explore our movement capabilities. We're supposed to come in with a cut on our knee, or with a sore elbow. Like, that's we're supposed to do that. And I think that's been stripped of young people now. And I think that's detrimental, like, to their development and their fundamental movement skill development. And that links to everything, because what the research is saying is that if you're mastering these skills, and if you're competent from a young age, that more than likely you will go on and be develop good attitudes towards physical activity, sport, and you'll keep up with the skill. And I think a big barrier that can come through for young girls too is that being self-conscious and not feeling good enough, not feeling that they can solo the ball properly, or that they can kick the ball over the bar, and the embarrassment and that kind of comparison, that social comparison, can come in. So I think that's why it's important, as you said, that's what it should be about. It should be about skills, and it should be about participation from the ages of 8 to 12. Then you can worry about competition, and you can worry about, progressing on if you want to go. Some kids will want to go on and be elite players and go represent their county and whatnot. But the real focus, in my opinion, is skills and participation at that young age, and fun. Like, skills, participation, and fun. Like, you have to have the fun, or else they won't be engaged. And that comes with it, because if you can actually allow fun, right, and enjoyment while they're doing the skill, then that's a winner, because they don't even think about the skill. It's indirect and it's subconscious. And the more they do that, the more that they enjoy themselves performing the skill, in a game-based situation or in a team challenge, that it'll almost become second nature to them then, the more they do it, because they enjoy doing it, rather than kind of having it as a separate thing, saying, well, we'll have our fun now, and then we'll get all serious, and then we'll go and we'll do our skill for half an hour. That you can actually merge the two. You can have fun and allow them to participate in that kind of environment as well.
Mm-hmm. What were some of the biggest barriers you saw to younger girls getting involved in sport and staying within the sport? What were the common trends and patterns you saw from that point of view?
When I asked young girls going out to schools, and I asked them the question, what would stop young girls, or what would stop you from playing sport, playing ladies football, or being physically active, the number one barrier was lack of enjoyment. And that's ironic, because we talk about fun and enjoyment all the time. And I think even at my level as a senior footballer, with the last 13 years, you ask me, why do you play? I play because I enjoy it, at the end of the day. And we have to remember that winning comes down the line. So I think that the lack of enjoyment was the big barrier. Coaches being too strict as well was kind of another one, that, again, linking to the enjoyment kind of taken from the sessions, coaches, teachers being too strict. And also other things like kind of, body image and stuff, and Friends actually in a weird way can be a barrier too. That
Okay.
if their friends are dropping out for girls now, then they are more than likely to drop out too. But friends can also be a motivator as well on the other side, that if their friends are joining, they can come with their friends too. But yeah, I think competitiveness as well. So that creeped in as kind of up the top 4 or 5 as well, that too competitive. When it was kind of too strict, too competitive, that they weren't kind of reaping the enjoyment of it, and when their friends were dropping out then as well. And obviously things like body image too, girls can become more conscious of, trying to conform to society, and you know yourself now with like Instagram and TikTok, and having to look like a certain way and athletic and all this kind of thing. Girls feel pressurized, and maybe more so coming into kind of the adolescence, not so much kind of the pre-adolescence like 9 to 12, but coming into kind of secondary school when all these societal pressures are put on them, that can be a big barrier, as well as school. So school and studying, and that change from primary school to secondary school, they now have homework, they now have about 10, 15 different classes, teachers, boys come into play, they have new sets of friends that might have different interests in sport, and all of these things are kind of nitpicking at them, so that there's a lot of pressure there. So it's kind of like there's not one, but there's kind of like bits of everything that can kind of pull and drag at players, and then as a result, some of them just end up giving up and
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
And if you mentioned all of those little factors there, and you say they're only little things, but if you're not enjoying it, then all those little things become a bigger thing, and you're like, well, I'm not really enjoying this, and I'm coming home late to homework, or I'm missing going out with my friends, or whatever. And it's like, okay, why would I bother doing it then? So it always comes back to that fun and enjoyment part. I was really interested in the parents' role in this. What were your findings in terms of the parents? Because I think, as you said, with friends, it can be a motivator and it can be a barrier. So what were the findings in terms of the parents' role involved in Gaelic for girls?
So in Gaelic for Girls, one element of the program is the parental involvement. So in other words, we try and get the parents involved as much as possible. So as part of Gaelic for Girls, what we did in the clubs was we made a Facebook page to try and kind of inform parents of like the benefits of sport, and kind of just uploaded kind of pictures of the girls and stuff, training and playing and keeping them in touch, I think was the main thing, and communicating with them, and just allowing them to feel that they're part of, their girls' participation as well. And I think another big thing we did in the program was we gave posters to the kids and that they could bring home, and we tried to involve the parents as much as possible. So we tried to get that co-participation with the parents, so that they could kind of support them, whether it be hand passing the ball off the wall with your parent, or challenging your parent trying to kick a target out the back garden. We also invited the parents into the club to watch some of the training sessions. We had a tea and coffee kind of an evening where we just got the parents together so they can kind of chat away with each other, and they can also watch what's going on. Because what we find sometimes with sport and with our busy lifestyles is that parents will just kind of drop the kids off, and off they go then and do their thing, and they come back then to collect their children. But I think we were kind of trying to think outside the box, kind of thinking, well, how can we try and get them to stay involved, and how could we try and get them to kind of co-participate with them? So even just small things like that made a massive difference in terms of the intervention. So what we found was positive kind of results in terms of social support from parents. So children reported feeling that they were supported by their parents in a positive way. And like that's a massive finding. Like that's a massive thing that they need that support. Like children emotionally, mentally, physically, they need that support from their parents. And like, I know myself, even from my own playing career, like my parents would still travel up and down to my games. Like even if it was up in, Dublin, like they'd still go in the car and they'd still go up, and they're still there in the stand. Not at every game, obviously, but I mean, even their presence alone, the encouragement, praise, maybe sometimes criticism, but like that even if you're being criticized and it's constructive, but it also means that they care, and that they want you to do well, and like all of that stands to a player. So I think finding those kind of significant positive findings, that there were improvements over the 12 weeks from the start of the program, and by including parents, whether it be through communication, whether it be through co-participation, inviting them in, or even just having them there on the sideline, uh, all those little factors actually significantly improved the social support in terms of what the girls thought about their parents in a positive way. And like that's a massive thing. And I think that we can take, a leaf out of that book as well, in the sense that how could we try and get more parents involved? And like sometimes it's just a matter of asking them. Like some parents would love to be involved. Like I often, when I go out to clubs doing sessions, I often get the question thrown at me like, Orla, how could we get more parents involved? And I'm like, simply just ask them. Like we assume, oh, just they won't want to get involved because it's a massive commitment. All you have to do is just say, look, Mary, would you be interested in coming down with your daughter there now? You don't have to go straight into the coaching. Maybe if you just observe, or you go next to, Orla while she's coaching, maybe help out with the cones, maybe help out with the admin in the club. Like it doesn't necessarily have to mean that parents have to be coaches. They could be, they could come to the club, help with the equipment, they could help support and encourage the girls on the sideline, they could help with the admin, they could help with, registration, whatever it is. That they just their presence alone can make a big difference to a club setup, and for the kids as well, more importantly, because the support is there. Like they need that support and that relatedness as well.
You mentioned the adolescence age. I have a lot of younger listeners around that age, and probably more of a, they're striving to be elite players, want to represent their county more than probably just staying in sport. But from that perspective, and maybe drawing on your experience, burnout in teenagers is probably becoming more prevalent, I think, particularly in sport, when the girls, when they're very good at one sport, they tend to be very good at another sport. And you see all these dual players across, Gaelic football, camogie, basketball, soccer, whatever it is. And when you're being pulled left and right, which is a great compliment because you're such a good player, how do you still retain that enjoyment part and still, still stay in love for football? Because I've experienced it myself through injury. There's a lot of difficult challenges, so I fell out of love with football for a long time. I know friends and teammates that had similar experiences when they're involved in different teams and being pulled left and right. How do you maintain that enjoyment part at the adolescent age, when we've already mentioned how many social factors are coming into outside of football? How do you maintain that participation level at that level and that age?
It's easier said than done, to be honest. Like I know, even from my own perspective, growing up, like I was running competitively with my club, represented Ireland, was playing football with Cork, was playing football with Cork minors and the Cork seniors, playing camogie and football in my school, and also playing camogie with Father O'Neill's as well, another club. But there was a lot going on, like as well as trying to study and as well as trying to have a bit of a social life and enjoy your time with your family. There's a lot going on, and like as you said, naturally enough, when you're competent and when you're good at a sport or sports, that you'll be pulled and dragged and you'll be wanted everywhere. But I think if I was to put my time back again, if I was kind of 15, 16, 17 again, like the biggest advice that I'd give to myself would be to say no, and to just be a bit more selfish, and that like you can't please everyone, because if you're going to please everyone, it's going to literally, you're going to crash yourself. And I have experienced that over the years, that you don't want to leave people down. You don't want to leave your school team down. You don't want to leave, the basketball team down, the rugby team, the soccer team, the Gaelic team. Like, yes, you want to play them all, but like sometimes you just have to prioritize, and you have to say, look, like I can't actually play X, Y, and Z. If you're going to get injured, it'll eventually come back at you. You're only one human being, right? You can only be in one place at one time. You can only play one sport at one time, right? So sometimes it's just a matter of being assertive and making a decision. Because if you don't make a decision and say, well, I could play this game now in the afternoon, and then if I leave early, I could go to this game, and then I could, get an early night's sleep and play this game in the morning. That like there's just too much going on, and you will burn yourself out. I think that's the biggest lesson that I've learned over the years. Unfortunately, I learned it in my later years and not kind of sooner, that if you put too many eggs in the one basket, whether that's sport or studying or just taking on too much and saying yes to too many things, then eventually you will end up crashing, and you'll suffer, and like you're not going to benefit yourself then, and you'll get injured, and you will, because burnout, fatigue, mentally, you'll end up not enjoying your sport then, and then as a result, as you said a while ago, you might say, oh geez, I'm actually kind of allergic to Gaelic football at the moment. And like you go through phases, and that's natural enough if you're playing different sports and if you're active. Like you will go through phases. You will like more sports than others, depending on the time of the year, depending on the competition, etc. But I think you just have to be selfish. Like, don't try to be pleasing your parents. Stop trying to please your school teacher or your county coach or whatever. Like you do you, and do it for you. Don't be doing it for anybody else. I know it's grand to say that now coming out the other end of it, but and it's harder at the time. But like at the end of the day, people won't mind. Like, if you say to your coach, your school coach, look, I actually am really tired and I don't know am I up for playing this game. Like your coach can't say anything. I mean, it's in your head half the time that like, oh my God, I'm going to leave down the girls. I'm going to leave down my coach. Or I'm going to disappoint my parents. Like, who cares? I mean, you have to do it for yourself. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice that I would give my younger self.
Yeah, exactly though. But it is you pick it up in your head, and most coaches are approachable. Like something I think it's really come out in the podcast and chatting with all the players is you have to be selfish. Like if you want to get to if you want to be a senior intercounty footballer, if you want to be Olympian, elite athlete, whatever, it is. You have to be selfish at some point. You have to say no to other things, whether it's in sport or social activities. And it's like you just have to take a bit of ownership at 15 and 16 and just sit down with yourself and write out your training plan and kind of look at it and like question, is that too much? And sometimes girls aren't doing enough. Like I'm not saying, to quit everything and then have one session a week. But like when people have 2 or 3 sessions a night, you're like, it's the long term, it's the longevity here. If you're 15 doing that, by 21 your body is going to be in bits. Like
I've seen it happen. Like I've seen girls, peak at a young age, like being very good at maybe 2 or 3 different sports, representing their county, representing their country, even at sports. And come the age of 21, 22, they go to college and then they just say, sure, look, I've done enough there now. I've been burnt out. And they end up giving up and they end up packing in the towel. So it's balance. Like the key is balance. And you just have to, it's taking, ownership and taking initiative and saying, look, I want to do this today. I'm doing it for me. But like at the end of the day, don't be pleasing everyone. That's the main message, I think.
totally. For you coming into that senior panel with Cork in 2010, can you describe the setup that was there? Like even when you look at the list of names and you look at the achievements, the management, can you describe that environment for someone like me or for anyone that wasn't involved? Can you just give us a bit of an insight into that dressing room?
Yeah, well, I think the very first training session I'll always remember because I was in 5th year in school, and I remember going to study after school, and I knew knowing that I'd training that night, and sure, geez, I didn't get a top of study done. So all I could think of was just, oh my God, will I train well? Will I train well? Who will I be with now in the drills? But I remember my dad actually dropped me up because I wasn't driving at that stage, and I was absolutely petrified. It was up in Watergrass Hill, actually, up in the pitch in Watergrass Hill. And I remember marking Valerie Mulcahy for this kind of, we to link up in pairs. And I was absolutely petrified because I was only a young girl, like I was only 17. And
Nice easy one to bring
nice
you
and
in as
easy
well.
one, yeah, to come into it. And I remember she absolutely made bits of me anyway. And I was like, oh my God, this is it, straight into it now, straight into the deep end. But you know what? Sometimes like you have to be thrown into the deep end like that as well. And it was such a big difference from minor to senior. But I think the main thing that I kind of noticed was just like the culture, I think. And I talk about that a lot. Just the culture that was there in the team setup. And it was just that constant just wanting more, like, and constant like hard work and kind of motivation. Like even in the trainings, like for example, now Breach Corky would come to mind when I think of, the perfect role model for what I'm going to say now is that she'd train like she'd play like a game. She would tear into anybody. She would, like, if we weren't going well in something, she would call us into a huddle, and say, like, girls, we need to cop on here now, or we need to up our game. We're a bit lacking focus. We might be a bit tired. We need to shake that out of us now. And I think it was the older girls, like, were taking such like ownership and leadership in the training sessions that it almost kind of trickled down to the younger girls. And you kind of almost came into just this setup that was like, it was such high standard, like that we were meeting such high standards in the training sessions that you didn't want to mess up. You wanted to give your full focus and attention. And I remember Eamon Ryan, the late Eamon Ryan, he used to always kind of remind us that when we came into the training session, so obviously we all were either in school or working with long days, and then coming into the training session, he always used to kind of give us the vision of when you come in that gate now, that you forget about all the worries of the day. Don't all the stresses, all the worries of the day, you forget about it, and you have your full focus now on football for this 60 minutes, for this hour and a half. You're just giving your full attention. I think that kind of culture where you just wanted to do well for yourself, but you also wanted to do well for everyone else on the team. You didn't want to mess up. You wanted, just to get the best out of yourself on the training pitch. That like I was almost brought into that culture, as a young girl. I think even having the older girls as kind of role models and kind of almost as parental kind of figures as well, that they kind of encouraged and pushed you on to try and get the best out of yourself as well. I think they helped that kind of merge. There was a good bond there. Even though there was a different age cohort in the setup, we seemed to kind of just get the glue and the gel together. I think the players really took initiative there, and I think Eamon really encouraged that. Eamon helped some of the older girls as well to try and encourage the younger girls into that kind of setup as well. I think it was just doing the simple things right. I think that was kind of our mantra, really. When I think of those few years coming onto the panel, being a young girl, that it's okay to kind of make mistakes, but it's the next ball, it's the next decision making, it's the next session that you're there to encourage each other. And I think another big thing when I think of just the culture, and I think of Cork ladies football, particularly when we were winning those 5-6 All Irelands, was and it comes back to the enjoyment. And I remember Eamon used to always call us in and ground us and kind of say, remember why you're here. You're here because you love playing. Yeah, obviously we want to win All Irelands, but play in the present. Don't be thinking about the game next week. Think about when you get the ball. You have a choice. What are you going to do? Are you going to take it 4 steps? You're going to pass the ball. You're going to put your head down. Right? What are you going to do? Play in the moment, enjoy it, because he always used to say, you'll never get this training session back again. You'll never get to play this match again. So he always used to kind of bring us back to reality and kind of ground us, and that's kind of, I think, why we were so humble as well, in the sense that we were doing it because we loved doing it and we were doing it for each other, rather than having all the external kind of factors like winning All Irelands. That was a bonus for us, I think.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that, what he was doing, and that sense of, why do you do it? And it's all about that purpose part, and that's come up a lot. It's all about why you do it. And I think maybe sometimes we forget, even maybe particularly, we're just kind of, going through the motions. Maybe at a young age, you're being dropped to train, you go train, you come home. It's the same thing week in, week out. But there is, when you stop and think about it, like as you said before, I had a question here: why do you play intercounty football? What is your motivation? And it's for you, it's the enjoyment part.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously you want to get the best out of yourself too. You want to challenge yourself year upon year. You want to improve your skill, you want to improve your decision making, you want to improve your play. And you also want to improve for the team, like in terms of bonding together, linking together. Are we gelling well together? So there's always room for improvement. And I think striving for that challenge and striving for that improvement, those kind of daily little improvements, I think that's my motivation as well. And obviously doing it with my friends, because I'm 29 now, it's not as if I'm 19, so you have to really appreciate those times, and you have to just make the most of every session, because you only have such a short span playing at such kind of a high intercounty level, that you really just have to go for it, and just kind of have that fearless attitude as well.
Love it, yeah. Now, as your role as a senior player, looking back, what advice or what do you wish you knew at kind of coming in those early years with Cork? Is there anything that kind of you've learned and you've kind of evolved as a player and as a leader? Is there anything you can kind of look back and kind of say, God, I wish I knew that coming in?
I think really kind of from an older player perspective now, I think this embracing kind of the challenge, and I think that like the fear element, I think just sometimes young players can hold back a small bit, just because they're a younger player on the team, that they feel like, that they have to pass the ball to an experienced player or whatever. That I think that I just think to express yourself as much as you can with that kind of fearless attitude. I think that would be my advice, and that it's okay to make mistakes and stuff. But I just think that going back to that time where you literally only have that few years where you're kind of at your peak, so what's the point in waiting around for the next year or the next year when you're a bit older? Just go for it. If you get that opportunity, take the opportunity, and go for it, and just have the confidence. I think confidence is a massive thing for girls as well, that sometimes we hold back or we care too much about what maybe our teammates think of us, or or what our coach might think of us. So I think just going for it, taking that shot that maybe you weren't supposed to take, but just doing it anyway, and just kind of having that fearless attitude, going for that dive or going for that block, like just going out of your comfort zone a small bit more, I think, as a younger player kind of coming up. Definitely that would be the advice that I would give myself if I was young again.
That's really interesting, that fearless attitude, because that came up with Robbie McDade, and he was waiting. I can't remember the number of years, but it was a long time before his senior debut in the championship, and he said, looking back, he would tell himself not to wait for the opportunity, nearly go and grab it with both hands, and even speak to management. What can I do here? And that's the biggest thing that's kind of come out of this as well, is talk to the management. They're approachable. They're here to help you. Ask them advice. Ask yourself for advice from a senior player. For those listening that are in the intercounty setup, maybe at an underage level, or coming into these elite level teams that are used to being maybe the star player on their own team, what advice do you give them around kind of accepting a role that they might not be used to, whether it's coming off the bench or not even getting a jersey? How do you manage that new role when you're so used to being maybe a star player or playing such a pivotal role in your club team or a different team?
I think that can be a big, barrier as well, that when girls are so used to being kind of the main contributor, or, the main scorer or whatever, that, change, just to embrace change, I think really is the key thing there, that like you're not always going to be the star player, you're not always going to be, played as well. That's the reality of it, that it's like a conveyor belt. There's always going to be players coming in and out and in and out. So like just take your opportunity when you can, and that like just embrace that change. Like if I remember when I came on for Cork first, when I made my debut for Cork, I came on half back, and like I'm not a half back, I'm a half forward, so like, but I didn't say, oh no, I'm not coming onto the pitch there, and sorry, I'm actually a half forward, I'll stay on the bench, like you just have to sometimes go out of your comfort zone and embrace change, and just say to yourself, what now, make the best of whatever situation you're in. Maybe you mightn't be 100% comfortable with playing in this position, or maybe sitting on the bench, right? But we all can experience those times, maybe disappointed, etc. But like you can't control kind of what's going on the outside. All you can control is how you react to it as well. So if a coach or if management or if a team makes a decision that you're not happy with, maybe you got dropped, or maybe you didn't make the team, or maybe you got taken off after 15 minutes. It's how you react to it. Like you can't control it, you can't change that situation. But are you going to just say to yourself, well, I'm not good enough now because my coach took me off? Are you going to just put everything on that one event and that one, situation? Or are you going to say to yourself, you know what? Yeah, it was disappointing. Maybe I didn't have a great day. You know what? Now I'm a young player coming into a senior setup. Obviously I can't just expect to start straight away. I'm going to work towards that, and I'm going to try and impress at training, and I'm going to work on my skill, and I'm going to work on the intensity, and then eventually I will get my place. But I know I will eventually get my place. So like there's two different approaches that you can do, right? You can either say to yourself, you know what, now I'm going to work, I'm going to better myself, and your opportunity will come, and when it does come, you take it. Or you could kind of just sulk, and you can kind of feel sorry for yourself, and you can kind of play victim and say, but sure, maybe I'm not good enough, or you can point the finger, this person didn't put me on, or this person did this, that this person shouldn't be on the pitch, and you can be blaming and putting all that kind of negative energy out. But if you're going to do that, you're just going to get that back, and you're never going to be happy, and you're never going to get the best of yourself on the pitch, and as a result you won't perform. So I think you're better off to take the option of, what, didn't go my way today, or what, it's not going to happen overnight, but I will work on it, and I'll do it for me. And that's more rewarding, because you can say, well, do you know what, now maybe it took a few weeks, or maybe it took a few years, but I got my opportunity, and I enjoyed the process as well. So I think you need to, for younger girls coming up, don't expect that everything's going to land in front of you, because it's not. Like you will have to work hard for it too. And yeah, maybe sometimes, like I think I was lucky when I was 17 years to come into a team and win 6 All-Irelands in a row. But like, it was brilliant. But like there's been moments of that 6 years that I felt low in myself, that I was disappointed that I was taken off in games, that I didn't start in games, that maybe I didn't play. That's part of it as well. Like I don't really think about those times, because I enjoy the process, and I worked, and it was rewarding knowing that I myself tried, and that I got my opportunity then.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's sorry, I was just going to say, it's funny because it's like when you're when you're trying to get to that point and be a senior footballer for your county, you have to be selfish. But when you get there, then it's about the team, and you can't be selfish. You get taken off. If you start moping and you give this negative energy, that's just going to affect the team. And you have to remember, yes, you've been selfish up to this point, but then it's like, I don't know if I'm right here, but it's like then it's all about the team again, and it's all about the group, and it's you get rid of that kind of individuality. Now you still obviously have your own thoughts and emotions and stuff, but it's for the betterment of the team.
And like it is easier said than done because just I mean everyone knows your emotions can take over in that heat of the moment that of course it's going to be very disappointing. You might be angry and you might be upset. But like at the end of the day there is no I in team, like it's collective and you're doing it for the team and everybody has a role to play. Even if you are taken off, you still played your role. Maybe you didn't play to the best of your ability. That's okay. We're human. We're not going to be able to play unbelievable every time we tog out. But at the end of the day, you tried and you played your role for the team. And you have to look at that bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. Out of interest, you've had many ups and downs with your career. Do you learn more from winning or losing?
Oh, definitely losing. Yeah, I think definitely the biggest lessons come from kind of the most hurtful losses, really, I think. And like that goes without saying, really, because you learn, like you live and you learn, as they say, that yeah, it's disappointing. Like we haven't won an All Ireland since 2016. But we have won other things. We've won league titles, won titles. We've gotten to an All Ireland semi-final, All Ireland finals, but unfortunately didn't go our way in some instances. So you can't just be focusing too much on the negatives and the losses, but you learn. You learn as a team. You learn on your own individual performance. Okay, maybe I need to work on X, Y, and Z. As a team, are we repeating patterns? And maybe it's the repeated patterns. That's why we're not playing with a bit more kind of enthusiasm or maybe a bit more cleverness or rootlessness and things like that as well. So you really do kind of grow together as well as a team. Not only just what you need to work on, but I think you come together a bit more. The bond kind of strengthens, and that eagerness and kind of motivation is enhanced because you don't want to have experienced that losing feeling again. It's like winning. It's like when something goes your way, that winning feeling, you want more of it. And it's like with losing, then it's when you've won and you've experienced that, you want to experience that. So you always crave, when that final whistle goes, when the hooter goes down and the final kind of 10 seconds go, and the whole of Croke Park are shouting 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. That's what you want. It's that feeling that you want. But look, you live and you learn, and to be honest, it definitely is the defeats that you take those kind of lessons with you and you grow as a team. But that's sport. You're not going to win everything. You're not going to lose everything either. So it goes both ways.
How difficult is it to repeat an Ireland title, and not only just repeat but go on a run with it? Like everyone says, to win one is difficult, but to repeat is twice as hard. How difficult is it actually to sustain that excellence, sustain the success across a number of years?
Oh, it's very difficult because I suppose now in this day and age, every team is constantly wanting more, have more resources, have more strength and conditioning. It's like competition in itself with strength and conditioning and who's doing more and whatnot. And I think I suppose things have advanced as well. Strength and conditioning has advanced. Players are kind of putting that bit more effort at working on their skill outside of trainings and things like that as well. So it's constant competition. It's constant. The margins are small. The margins are very small, and we can see that already. Even the likes of Meath, for example, to be coming up from intermediate and then to be coming up to senior and winning a senior title, that's an achievement in itself. That it just goes to show that there's nothing between teams, and even in intermediate level, even in junior level, that it's constant. You're kind of on edge and on your toes, that you can't just kind of assume that actually we'll beat this team now. You could never go in saying being complacent, saying, oh, it's championship day now, or we'll beat these handy enough now. That's kind of gone now, in these days. That you even see it with the men as well, with the football, with the hurling. Nobody knows who's going to win the All Ireland. That's an exciting time because every team is constantly, trying to get the best out of themselves, and the margins are very, very small.
Mm-hmm. Dublin went on a bit of a run. Obviously last year Meath took the crown, but What gave Dublin that edge over that number of years from your perspective? Was there just anything that you saw? Like there was such an evolution with that team. They had gone, it's kind of like the flip side now, it's all kind of flipped over, but from all of their time losing to kind of flipping the coin and winning, what do you think gave them that edge for that number of years?
I definitely think, like being, and losing All Ireland's, they took their lessons and they used them well and they put it into work and they did their homework. And I think that they hurt a lot as a team, when we were beating them back in the day. And I think they just implemented those lessons and they structured them, and I think they used them to their advantage. And I think that hurt gave them that motivation, that eagerness to finally push on, and break through. When they did, and like it was that core group of girls as well, like Noel Healy and Sinead Goldrick and Shayna Hearn and all those girls that they experienced year upon year, losing by a point or two. In Cork, like even when I think of that 2014 All Ireland, like they were 10 points up, with 10 minutes to go, and that must have hurt. Like that must have really, really hurt. Like, and I think that was probably a defining moment for them, because they probably said to themselves, you know what, now, like we don't ever want to feel like that again. And it takes a while, like it takes a few years to get back and get that motivation and drive. And I think they just executed it well, when they had the opportunity, and they were unfortunate for their three in a row, and when Meath took it off them really, but they're still, geez, they're a fantastic team, and nobody knows who's going to win the All Ireland this year. And you have to admire Dublin as well in that regard, that how they got themselves together and flipped the coin around, and started winning All Irelands, and they're still up there. Like, I mean, they're still, it'll be an exciting championship for
It
sure.
will. Definitely will. I can't wait for the championship to get going, because you said like it's so close, it's so competitive, it's so exciting. But for you, Orla, is the intercounty level more of a physical or a mental challenge? What do you think?
To be honest, I think it's both. Like, I think now it's more probably mental than when I was younger, because I'm probably more in tune, with my play and in tune with kind of, how I think and stuff. Whereas when I was younger, I wouldn't really think about that as much. So I think, I remember just even Eamon Ryan as well. I remember he always used to say to us, you could have all the skill in the world, you could be the most talented footballer, but if you're not right upstairs, then you're wasting your time. Like, and I always remember that when he used to say that to us, that you can do all the work, you can take all your frees, you can spend X amount of hours a day in the gym, and doing all your physical kind of side of things. But if you're not kind of practicing, mentally tough, visualizing and believing, that self-belief, then you're wasting your time. And I do think that your mind is very powerful, and it does link with your body. Like, mind and body will always be linked together. So like if you're feeding your mind with fear, and if you're feeding your mind with, geez, I don't know now, will I play well today, or if you're anxious about training, or if you're worried, like all those kind of negative feelings, then that will come into play on the pitch. You might mess up that ball, or you might not take that shot when it was on, because you're living in fear. However, if you flip the coin over and you say, do you know what, now, I'm the mental side of it, I'm going to have a good session today. Now today is going to go my day, right? Or you maybe even visualize scenarios that are happening in the game, right? Or even just focus on maybe a time that you played well in a game and how you felt about that, right? Like your mind works in magnificent ways that your body will actually follow, right? And that's just the science of it. Like, your body will actually follow. So whatever you feed your mind will come about on the pitch, basically. So you have a choice there. You either embrace things and say, do you know what, I'm going to go out here now, and today is going to be my day, or I'm going to train really well. I have loads of energy, I'm going to train really well. Or else you're going to say to yourself, you're going to live in fear, and you're going to say, geez, I'm really worried now, I'm not looking forward to training. Oh my God, what are we going to be doing? X, Y, and Z. I'm going to mess up this ball. Like, you always have a choice. Always have a choice. So it's just about choosing wisely and using your kind of mental strength and your mental toughness and visualization to your advantage when it comes to the physical side of things. Because you obviously have to put in the physical work too. You obviously have to go to the gym, and you have to do the sessions. And like, probably the older you get, like the harder it is to recover. Like, we had a game there now, a practice game on Sunday, and I had to go straight from there and play a club game. And I swear to God, I woke up Monday morning and I felt like a bus hit me. I felt like a book because I suppose it's harder the older you get because recovery takes a bit longer and all of that. So like you do have to look after the physical side too. You know, you do like I went for a swim there then in Inch Beach, a beach down by Middleton, a beautiful beach. But I was like, you know what, now it's freezing, but I'm a responsible adult here now. And I need to recover fairly fast before the next session. So I was like, I'm going to dip my body in. So like you do have to make good physical decisions too, but you have to look after yourself as well. Like meditation, I would meditate a lot as well. I find it relaxes me. And sometimes I find just doing something that's not related to football mentally, like go, you know, for a walk or maybe go to the cinema or just do something, go to a table quiz or something, do something completely different to football. It's good as well to just mentally separate yourself from football so that you're kind of energized both mentally and physically then for the next training session.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I never thought of that. From your perspective, and I've kind of asked this to every guest at this point, but what's the most underrated skill in the game at the moment? Is there anything for you that kind of stands out?
I think the block, to be honest, like it's probably the catch or the block for me because I just think it can change a game. Like, you know, we all can experience that feeling of, you know, maybe a back or even a forward making a block at a pivotal time in a game, and it can change the mood. Like it can boost the whole team and management. It can change your mindset, you know, and it can actually, for that split moment when a player makes a block, it can change the belief system of the team just like that instantly. I think it can uplift the team and it can just motivate the team to block again or to maybe even get a score. You know, so I do think that it's very like I think sometimes we can kind of I remember Eamon as well used to talk about like the token blocking that like you pretend you're blocking, you know, the hand will be up here, but like you're not really, you know yourself, you're not really going to block the ball because the head is going to the side and the hands are up here, even though the ball is down at their foot. It's like, are you actually blocking the ball? But I think that for me, if you can get down low on the boot, and even if players had targets, like, you know, even if some of the forwards, midfielders, not just the backs, could get blocks into the game, I think it could change the game as well. So I think definitely it's very underrated because it has such a powerful positive impact on a game when blocks are made at pivotal points.
Brilliant. There's a couple of younger girls from Cork listening that have aspirations to play senior county football. Are there particular attributes you need to make it at senior intercounty level? Is there checklist is kind of a weird word, but is there anything for you that kind of stands out if you want to make it at senior intercounty level?
I think the first one is the commitment side of it. I do think, you know, you need to be willing to commit to a team and you need to be willing to make sacrifices as well and being part of that team. So I like it is a big commitment. And if you want to represent your county, like you have to be there for training. You can't not go training if you want to go to the cinema or if you want to go to a friend's party or if you want to go on, you know, that holiday. Like I missed leaving cert holidays. I missed loads of holidays with my friends. Yeah, maybe you could say it was a sacrifice, but at the end of the day, I wanted to be there and I loved playing. So it wasn't really a sacrifice, even though, you know, you must be willing to miss out on certain things as well and put full commitment to it. Even if you're injured, you know, you still need to be turning up at training. That's the first thing I'd say is the commitment side of it. The second side is, you know, putting in the time to kind of improve your skill and being determined as well, you know, like wanting to impress at training, wanting to get the better out of yourself. Like there's no point in just coming onto the team and just coasting your way along and saying, sure, I'm grand now. I'm one of the subs on the team. That's grand. Sure, I'll still get a medal, kind of a thing. That like you need to be willing to push yourself and to ask questions or ask your coach for feedback, ask some of the girls for feedback, be reflective as well and try and just improve yourself. And I suppose the third one is like, you know, if you're passionate about sport, like, you know, I always knew from a young age, like obviously I was playing underage with Cork, but like I knew that I wanted to, like that was my passion. That was always my dream. That was my passion. So I think if it's your passion to represent your county at senior level, you know, go for it. Like don't be like, sure, I have this and that. Like if it's your passion, follow your passion and go for it. Because, you know, if you're passionate and determined on the pitch, then that will 100% impact positively your performance on the pitch as well. And like you need to enjoy it as well. Like if your friends, like the friends and everything that you make from it, as I was saying with Orlagh Finn as well, you know, and all the other girls like Anya Terry, like all these girls, that's all part of it as well. But I do think you need to be willing to be committed, to be determined to kind of get the best out of yourself in terms of your skill, and just enjoy the process as well. And just kind of have that, follow your passion, like, and have that fearless attitude going forward as well.
Who would be your toughest opponent, Orla, who's kind of stood out for you, whether it's within Cork or from different counties over the years?
I suppose in terms, like, obviously from a forward perspective, if it was a defender, within my own camp, probably would be Breach Corkery over the years. I think just her sheer determination, and she just put everything, her heart and soul at you, like, to dive on the ground for that ball. Just very difficult, because sometimes, you're the forward and she's the back, but then she'd nearly be the forward because she'd be tearing off the pitch the whole time. And it's really impossible, because you'd feel like you'd nearly have to mark her. I definitely think Breach Corkery would have been, say, my toughest, but in a way, like, I'd pick her because I admired her so much too, because I admired her skill and her hard work and just the determination and the toughness kind of that she brought to the game. I think definitely, yeah, Breach Corkery.
You've been involved in sport in so many different facets of your life. What's the biggest lesson you've learned from it overall?
I think really, like, for me, it's the resilience side of things. Like, I suppose the last few years, really, it's kind of resonates just in terms of, like, losing games and stuff, that I'm kind of coping with failure, because I think that kind of, I bring that with me in other aspects of my life as well. Like, even with my PhD, with my work life, like, not everything is going to go accordingly. You're going to fail at certain things. Things aren't going to go your way, and I think that sport has taught me that. It's how you react, and it's how you bounce back. Like, the sun, the sun comes out every day, regardless. Like, so it's like a new day, a new start, constantly, that you can constantly, like, redefine yourself. You don't have to define yourself based on that loss, or based on that mistake you made, or based on losing an All Ireland by a point or whatever. Like, you don't have to define yourself as a player or a person based on the failures and based on what didn't go well. Like, you always have that opportunity to wake up the next day and say today is going to be a good day. And that resilience, I think, has kind of went outside of the football pitch as well for me, in terms of, like, a life skill and a life lesson. So definitely resilience would be number one for me.
Brilliant. I feel like we could talk all day, but I'm just conscious of the time. I'm going to move on to the sideline 7. It's the same 7 questions at the end of every episode. Question 1, what is your favourite quote?
Oh, that which, like, onto itself is drawn. It means, like, whatever you're thinking about, you'll bring about.
Okay, are you a bit of a quotes fan, are you?
Love the quotes, yeah. The insights of the day on Instagram. Love the quotes.
Brilliant. Question 2, what's the best sporting event you've been to? And you can pick one as a fan and one as a player.
Definitely one as a fan. I was actually in South Africa, in Cape Town, and Ireland were playing rugby. Men were playing a test game against South Africa, like, at the time.
Wow.
And I was actually presenting for my PhD in Cape Town at a conference. And actually, I remember the Irish team were on the plane and everything. We were on the same flight. We were in the same hotel and everything. So it was a mad time, but it was cool just to be over there. Like, we were probably the only Irish fans at it. But yeah, that was definitely a memorable experience as a fan. As a player, I think it was probably the 2014, I'd say, All Ireland coming back winning by or coming back losing by 10 points. And it was just out of this world. Like, I'll never forget the feeling of, like, oh my God, we actually did it. We beat the Dubs. And, like, all the odds were going against us, like, 10 points down, 15 minutes to go. But I do think that's a memorable, as a player, that's definitely a memorable match and a memorable experience for me.
Can you describe the momentum shift that was there? I remember that day very well, unfortunately. But can you just describe? I don't know, you always bring up the Doves when you beat them. But can you describe for you as a player, like, what changed in that few minutes, really?
I think it was more of, like, we realized, oh, okay, we're definitely in trouble here, and I think it was just that trust. Like, I think it was that kind of bond that we had, and, like, we knew that we all, had a role to play, and we didn't want to leave each other down. And I think it was just that trust alone in the team just pushed us forward. Like, there was no way we were losing that game. Like, it was just like it's not over until the final whistle. And I think we just really helped each other. I think it was just that encouragement. It just went our way. Like we communicated with each other well, and we trusted in each other that we could actually do this. But I just remember the crowd and everything. I just remember being like, oh my God, like what is happening? Like this is so surreal. Like just the momentum alone, it was madness,
Yeah,
absolute madness. But it just goes to show it's not over until the final whistle goes.
exactly. Out of interest as a player, I've seen it as a fan. We even mentioned the 2009 final. What's it like as a player to see the growth of the game and see Croke Park really start to fill up now with fans on All Ireland final day? How was that as a player, as a supporter and as a fan? I'm amazed by it. I think it's brilliant. I can't wait for the day it's full. But as a player, what's it like? Even though maybe you weren't playing, the last All Ireland final, what's it like to see that growth and support for the game?
Oh, it's fantastic. Like, I mean, even the last 10 years alone, to see the numbers have nearly double, tripled in Croke Park, like, it says itself, that there's been positive, momentum for ladies football. And like, it's great to see the younger players coming up as well, and like the opportunities that they're getting now, and having more games being televised, like even just the league games being streamed and stuff with the Ladies Gaelic Football Association. They're doing great work, and with Lidl and with the 2020 campaign and everything, all of that has really shifted, just the momentum in a positive light for ladies football. And like what we're finding now is, like, I always used to make the observation that there was nearly like loads of men say going to our games rather than women. But I think more women are actually supporting women now the last few years, and we're seeing more of like a female presence at our games. Whereas before I would have said nearly we would have had more of a male presence at our games. But now I think over the last few years, just with the interest alone and like social media and everything, like all of that contributes and influences, the interest in football. But it's fantastic to see, and with the funding, with the WGPA and everything, and there's some fantastic work being done there. And we hope, like, even from now in 10 years' time, you'd wonder what it will be like. Like, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time to think that women in sport and ladies football is on the rise.
Yeah, brilliant. Question 3: what's been the biggest setback or challenge so far in your career, and how did you react to it?
I think for me it was probably the year like 2017, I would say. It was a very stressful year for me, kind of off the pitch. Like I was saying a while ago, I definitely had too many eggs in the one basket that year. And I think, I was just saying yes to everyone and everything. And I suffered then, in terms of mentally, emotionally, physically, but also my performance as well on the pitch. I wasn't performing the best of my ability, and it was kind of affecting everything in a negative light. I wasn't enjoying football. It was just kind of like a negative kind of spiral I felt I was caught in. And I think for me, yeah, like obviously sometimes you need to kind of hit rock bottom to kind of get back on track again. But I do think that was definitely a setback. But again, sometimes you need those setbacks, and it made me realize, you know what, I actually need to be a bit more selfish here now. I know I'm going to say no, as much as it hurts me. I'm going to say no now to you today because I don't have time to do that. Or you know what, now I've training tonight, so I need to be energized for training, etc. So I think that taught me how to balance my lifestyle, and it taught me how to prioritize, my needs both on and off the pitch. So definitely that was kind of my setback / defining moment.
Brilliant. Kind of on the flip side then, what's been your biggest achievement on or off the pitch?
um, I suppose for me it was probably like, I think, did you say on both on and off the pitch, is
On
it?
or off, so you can pick one of each even.
I suppose off the pitch, it would definitely be, getting my PhD, I think, because I worked really hard for it. And it was a struggle, like it wasn't an easy ride. There's many times where I wanted to just throw in the towel and just not do it anymore. But I think I'm proud of it. Like I'm proud of my achievement of my PhD because it's something I'm very passionate in, and I know that it has made an impact for young girls. And I know that, coaches and other people can learn from it, and it's practical. It's the impact for me that's the most important. So I definitely think, the PhD would be a proud kind of moment for me off the pitch. On the pitch, I think it was probably the 2016 All Ireland final for me personally. I played the full game that day, and it was just a meaningful year because all my family were at the game, and my brother actually was representing Cork at the time as well. He won an All Ireland hurling with Cork under 17 in Cork that year as well. And um, my family were there as well. And I just think it was just, it was memorable because I suppose it was the sixth All Ireland as well. We'd won six in a row. And I just really remember the hooter in the last 10 seconds going down, and I actually remember just jumping like up when we won, and I just really cherish just those kind of few minutes of like pure elation, like when we won. And I always just think of that All Ireland personally. For me, that was kind of a proud moment.
We've mentioned it a good few times, but looking back, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
My 18-year self definitely would be just be fearless, like, just don't, like, go for it, really. Go for it. Practice, just still keep practicing your skill. And I suppose really just have fun as well and enjoy it. Like, as much as it's a cliche, like, just make as much friends, as you can, and memories, the friends and the memories for me. Just engulf yourself in it. If you enjoy something, put your heart and soul into it. And your opportunity will come eventually. It mightn't come, today, tomorrow, next year, but it will come eventually. So just stick with it and enjoy it. Enjoy the process. And yeah, that's my advice to my 18-year-old self.
Brilliant. Who would be your dream dinner guest and why? And you can open up the table to a few people if you want.
Oh, dream dinner guest. Ooh, that's a tough one now. I would probably say, let me think now. From a sporting perspective, I think, like, just in terms of, like, kind of someone that I would look up to and that I'd really be interested in talking to, would be like Serena Williams. For some reason, I don't know why I always think of her.
Yeah.
Just like, I know she's nothing to do with ladies football, but it's just, she's just so successful at what she does. And I'd love to just have a chat with her, like, and I'd love to just see, like, where she gets her motivation and her drive, and just that winning mentality all the time, like, to just continuously be like number one, like, the whole time. Probably Serena. I admire her a lot, definitely. And maybe like someone like Sonia O'Sullivan as well, actually.
Yeah.
Just because she's a Cork woman, and just because she's, achieved so much, like, at such a world-class level. I think that I'd love to just, chat with her, and she's just raw, like, and she's authentic, and she just loves what she does as well. So I think not going anywhere too kind of actress, Hollywood kind of thing. It's more, I like to keep it to Cork, Us Cork people love to support Cork women.
Brilliant. Final question before I let you go. If your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
Oh. This chapter would be called The Transition, I think.
Transition. Okay,
Yeah.
very good. So we've big things to expect now, Orla.
Yeah, I think just, I suppose, I am kind of coming towards the end of my playing career as well. But it's kind of the start of something as well for me in terms of, like, my career and my aspirations. And I'm excited about that too. So I feel that it's kind of a transitionary period in my life right now, both kind of on and off the pitch as well.
Brilliant. Orla, thanks a million for joining me on the podcast. Very best of luck with the upcoming season, and thanks again for your time.
Thanks a million. Really enjoyed it.
A big thank you to Orla for joining me on the podcast today. I'll be sure to leave all of our social media links in the description box below, and I just want to wish her and the Cork Senior Ladies football team the best of luck with the upcoming championship. If you are enjoying the podcast, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a rating and a review over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as it does help the show grow. A big thank you to Phil Queens for sponsoring the episode, and to you for listening.